All right, let me speak to the white race. My greetings, Zulus. Greetings, Black South Africans. And for this particular video, hello, white people. White people, the holy race, the righteous, uh, those who are without sin, the ones who are being troubled by black thugs in illness. I got invited by a lot of white people in the year 2015 when I made a post which was standing against the EFF ANC lot who were attacking white statues, and I made a point there as to the stupidity of those deeds. And therefore, such next day I wake up and I've got like thousands and thousands of likes to that message which I made around 3 a.m. In my drowsy state. And then I got scared because I was just making my regular posts as I had always done. And I was keeping my Facebook at 200 or 250 people maximum. Because I never liked having many people on Facebook and don't use, or was not, well, even now, I'm not using social media to make money. And I actually don't wish to find myself in a trap where I now use social media for money making. But yes, if I can earn money out of the posts I make, wonderful. I wish I could, but I don't want to find myself making posts in order to make money. I want to make posts as I've always done to convey my understanding, my experiences, my the lessons I'm drawing in life as we progress, rebukes, etc. Where my areas are threefold. My areas are first Christianity, therefore church, and for in reference to other religions. Secondly, it is uh, South Africa's politics and politics of the world, and in there I also include the New World Order evils that are happening. The New World Order would therefore also touch on the three areas that I'm focused on, which is Christianity, like I said, politics, and the third area, which is economics. All right, I'm not an economist, so I'm speaking our lived experiences in the situations that unfold. I want to speak to the white race. I am clear and I'm comfortable to call you a racist white race. You are racist. There's no need to even try to prove that because you know you are racist. Let me just make these quick reminders. Black South Africans did not attack white South Africans. I am starting to believe that we didn't attack white South Africans because we were cowards. I thought it is because we were raised well, which we were, by our black parents not to hate other people. Because most of us were groomed in Ubuntu values and Christian culture. It is exactly Ubuntu values which made us to welcome pale people and give them some tiny land in Durban to sojourn, not to own, who then came with floods of their whites to replace us in our land. And you can look all over the earth, wherever they went, they genocided out of existence many nations and even races, like Argentina, even in the United States of America or America as a whole. They genocided out of existence a lot of people, and the good white race. So now we when these white people came to my page, I took something like a week not wanting to respond to all these likes, like shocked, realizing that my post has gone to even universities. This this side I'm getting insulted by blacks, and the other side I'm getting celebrated by whites and some other blacks, and I am not enjoying what is happening on my page because one, it's violating my resolve to keep it at my friends, because I was on Facebook to communicate or liaise with my friends, all right, via social media, all right. So I took a week to even open the page because I completely closed my Facebook. So after a week, I went back and then I put down 15 points to make clear to white people, because I was seeing I've got floods of white people inviting me. So I made clear that I am not a spokesperson of white people. So whatever post I made is not me trying to please white people. It is me speaking what I have understood as truth. All right. So I put 15 points to explain as to who I am. All right. And there's a white kid or a white young man who realized that what I was actually saying, and he tried to rebuke his white parent. They were kind of like were blinded, thinking I'm some black hero of white people. I'm not a black hero of white people. I come from horrible history in the workplace under white people. All right. They have systematically destroyed excellent black people. They do it intentionally. All right. So via grooming, via how they assign jobs to ensure that they groom white people and Indians over blacks. So their system is clear cut: white race at the top, followed by Asians, particularly Indians, and the blacks must be at the bottom. Lessons I learned after that, going like lessons of what the intentions of the Anglo-Zulu War were, right back in 1875, 79. Those lessons I only learned after the lived experiences I had in the white capital controlled private sector. So, but in spite of all the lived horrors, that racism, the biases we saw, which was well documented or was becoming well documented by the year 2004, as we black graduates, or rather professionals in various industries, who got to become friends via Gmail, started speaking about these experiences and realizing that these experiences are similar in different industries, therefore signaling coordination. So later on, when one of the white folk at my workplace, because I was I'm a natural activist. I guess I was fighting for myself. Remember, I was not under any union. So, and also I detested COSATU. I'm not a socialist. I'm a conservative capitalist. I'm umuntu. I am bantu, ubuntu. That's who I am. When you start bringing in these capitalism, liberalism, socialism, yo, ngathi ukhuluma ngento engaka, but it's like you're speaking about something huge, or rather. So let's keep it simple. I'm umuntu. So now, I spoke, or rather, okay, I forget what I was trying to say, but I made that post against the EFF ANC, coming as a black person, a black South African, from a history of being mistreated by white people. But even in spite of that, this didn't mean that I must support deeds from black folk which were not correct. Same way we couldn't, maybe 40% of us, or maybe even more than that, we couldn't support expropriation without compensation. We support expropriation. It must happen, but we didn't support expropriation without compensation because we are not raised to have vengeance, or rather, and to revenge. So we are already in this particular state. White people are already integral members of this South African society, was supposed to be. They clearly look at themselves as Europeans, not South Africans. They don't see us as fellow citizens. And yet they are the ones who are invaders. So if they don't see us as fellow citizens, they are supposed to pack and go back to their Europe. It's not our duty to beg white people to coexist with us in our black land. This is black Africa. They are the first ones to arrive in South Africa in 1652. Congratulations. All right, that narration defies logic. I mean, how does humankind go through horrible mountains of Europe, coldest horrible areas of Asia, even go to the end of Russia, cross that strait into the USA, travel all the way down to South America, but never to travel to Southern Africa and South Africa, never to travel to Mauritius. Nah, man, please. White racism is a sick disease that nobody can help anybody with. We can't heal white people from racism. They are racist. It's like, the Nazis which were in Germany got thrown into South Africa because predominantly, what I can say, the white culture of South Africa is predominantly Nazi. Even it was not only AWB. A lot of white people have superiority complexes. So we can't help with those. So we've got lived experiences in terms of white people after 1994. When you criticize white people, white punks, because these are not human beings. You can't be a human being if you can't introspect and see the wrong in your eye first before you can see the wrong in other people. So white people, they are so loud and they clap hands for you when you are accusing the ANC, the EFF and them. But come for them and you'll hear wonders. Come for white people. Who said whites are saints? I was never even DA in 1994. I was very conscious even when I voted in 1994. We had this. Right. Summary of political organizations. When I went through this, I knew that the ANC and the DP are one and the same thing. All right. They stand for the same thing. It's just that one is black, the other one is white. More than 45% of black South Africans were anti-ANC. The ANC was supported and promoted by whites. You know very well your whites who even voted ANC in 1994, and then they fled to Australia thereafter. And you're blaming us black South Africans for the ANC evils. Nisijwayela kabi nina. Nisijwayela kabi. You voted your ANC, you promoted your ANC, your Mary Mat calves you never blame, your who's that? Ronnie Casserol's, the Jewish people who are ANC, all these so-called freedom fighters of your ANC, you don't blame them, you blame me. I've never been ANC, mina. It is exactly racist to blame blacks of South Africa for ANC evils. And it is exactly wicked and racist to blame blacks for socialism inherent failures, where your own whites in Europe failed dismally and became very poor because of those same policies. So it's not a black or white thing, it is a policy thing which failed your white people in Europe themselves. Yet in South Africa, when the same socialism is implemented, then it's black failure. No, it is socialism failure. They are sick people. I don't know, because you know what? Black South Africans are the friendliest and most genuine people on earth I've ever met, except for Sowetans. We deserved human beings, not savages that white people are. You're not human beings. If you were human beings, you would have appreciated the friendliness and hospitality of Black South Africans, because we are the most hospitable. I've met people from this world. Black South Africans are the most hospitable people I've met across races. Yet you took advantage of such people and became racist, and then accuse of yourself as a holy saints. When we speaking, like, I spent a lot of time speaking, or rather blaming the ANC, and I was clear, as I told even my friends before this entire invasion of all these white people who came to my page. I said, I'm focusing only on the ANC because I don't want to give them opportunity if I split my focus and then attack, or rather the DAs and them, because that was not my focus at that stage, because the government is the ANC, all right? So I just wanted to focus on the ANC, all right? But there is no stage where I excuse, or where I said white people are holy. We knew that white people are doing evil things because we come from white private sectors, and we saw how they destroyed black excellence and imposed dummy whites upon us. I come from a factory, a paint manufacturing company, where there was JB construction, TC fabrication, all uneducated white people who were the preferred contractors of that paint manufacturing company. And when you went through the reasons why they were preferred, there was none except that they are white, close friends with MDs of the company and the likes. So when I here's what I did in engineering, because I come from working as a project engineer. I took firmly on this reality that we were fully accountable for the contractors we brought into the company. So I designed a system to evaluate contractors with a clear also understanding that we needed to uplift our black entrepreneurs as well, and whereby our understanding of PE was never that we just take a person just because they are black, like the ANC did, or rather, it was not even PE what the ANC did. The ANC did cater deployment as advised by its white capital. It's white people who themselves took Ramaphosa and made him a billionaire on the basis of what businesses had he run before, when white people made him a businessman. So they, as white people, co-opt blacks that suit their agenda and reward them and create useless entrepreneurs that are not self-made, and then blame us. We don't do those things. The black entrepreneurs we had here by 1994 were self-made. If white people wanted to invest in black people, they would have identified these thousands of self-made black South Africans that we already had. They had already built their own schools. We even had a Pace College here in Soweto, built by our black excellent graduates and them. Even when you look at the videos of 1985, you can see that black excellence wanted nothing to do with the ANC. It is white liberals and white socialists and white communists and Jewish communists who promoted the ANC. And you're blaming us for the ANC. And now you are the type of people who say you don't believe in group rights. But even the employment of illegal immigrants is group rights, even done by white people, the DA, even the the grouping of Congolese into scooter drivers, that is done by white capital. The grouping of Zimbabweans into restaurant jobs, it is social engineering done by white people. So we speak about these things and white people become defensive. Hey, there's no such thing as social engineering. No, it's not theory. It's something that you're doing practically. You walk in a part of this country, you see white capital's engineering of South Africa's system, main one being open borders. It is done by whites of the DA. same as is done by white liberals in the USA, same as is done by white liberals in the UK, Australia, or the Europe as a whole. So when we speaking about the same social engineering that is done in Europe and the likes, then your Indian boys accuse me and deny social engineering that benefits them as Indians. Aningazosigulela nina. Yo, ningazosigulela. If you want to solve issues of this country as white people, introspect first. Remove the log in your eyes before you blame even the ANC. Because you haven't really introspected. It's like how you approaching South Africa's systems is as if you're saying you did us a favor by allowing us to vote. No, you didn't do us a favor. You're not supposed to be here. This is not your country. You don't own this land. You are immigrants from Europe. God, the creator of the earth, allotted you land in Europe. Any other part of the earth that you have conquered is invasion. And you're so ruthless in your deeds, we can see that in New Zealand, indigenous people there are no longer there. Actually, you Indianified, let's call it Indianified them, because the original looks of people of New Zealand and the Oceania was much blacker than the Indian looks that they are today. That was socially engineered by yourselves. You look at Tonga and all the 1800s pictures where black people like us, today they are Indianish. It is you who did that during your colonialism as you tried to phase out black people and erase these truths which were going to stick in your false history, which suggested that the blacks are dummies who contributed nothing to civilization. The Bible rebuked you and and falsified you. You brought the Bible, but the Bible, the Bible came to Africa via blacks in the days of Jesus Christ. But all I'm saying is now we forgot about the Bible because of whatsoever happened. But I think the main problem that happened was the Islamic invasions of 650, which caused us to lose civilization altogether. And many people died in Africa. So there is information loss which happened. But when you look at Zulu culture, Ubuntu, it is directly the same as the Old Testament in the Bible. It's the same thing. So that tells you that we were once influenced by the biblical culture before whites even arrived. So let's call them people who were brought to bring a revival of something that we had already forgotten some 1,000 years before. All right? So now, the Bible shows you from the beginning after Noah that Nimrod is the person who started civilization. And the Bible tells that Nimrod is of Cush. And that is very clear that Cush is from Ham. Cush is black. I come from Cush. Every Zulu person, Swazi person, Xhosa person, Bantu come from Cush. So we started in civilization. That's why you hate us so much, because you know those truths and you've studied our genes and everything and discovered things that you do not want to see arising, because you don't want Zulus to be economically powerful, because it's a threat to your white superiority. If Zulus were to If South Africa was to be truly about merit, you don't have a future, because Zulus can replace you. So you've got to engineer your position to superiority at all the times, because you've got the power of money. Because our black idiots have not sorted out the economic fuss, the fraud, and everything that has happened there, which happened before 1994 and continues to happen even today. Which is why you're able to do rand manipulations, which is social engineering itself. Which is why you're able to do all these nasty things, opening our borders to replace local blacks. Because you ensured that you hold on to economic power and to the judiciary. And then these NGOs of yours, which are treasonous governments from Europe, predominantly pushing the NWO agenda, which your white people understand as social engineering itself, because that part affects them. But where the social engineering affects the black race, then they are in denial. I'm a very accountable person. I won't be taught by Indians and whites to be accountable. I don't see what moral value we added in South Africa. I don't. You found morally upright people who signed contracts verbally and brought your cultures of thuggery. And then when people learned to be thugs like yourselves, then you blame us. White people, hey, did not even come close to me in terms of bribes to do with tenders. I'm saying I work with tenders in that pen manufacturing company with uneducated Bure and English contractors whom we were not supposed to move. Oh, that's where I was at. I was saying I could design this thing to evaluate potential tenderers or contractors. But when I did that, then I found, or rather, because I was going to do a big project of piping systems in the water plant. So I had these contractors doing an elbow for me so that I see if they're welding. Listen, I'm chemical engineering, so mechanical engineering is something else. All right. So, but I'm chemical engineering. So I had to evaluate the quality of their workmanship. All right. In order to, because to decide which contractor I was going to use in comparison with ancient contractors of that company who were there. Those whites hated that I was bringing in new contractors. And for that matter, it was not even black contractors I was bringing, because the company I brought in was Subsystems, which was an Irish company, or rather they were based there by O.R. Tambo, airport. They were the best ones because in terms of the workmanship when they did their presentation. So I brought them in, and these ruffled feathers of MDs and senior whites and Jews of that company, and yeah, exactly, that company, and ruffled. I realized later what caused me so much hatred, because white people, the senior ones, not my direct managers. My direct managers were good white people. The white people there did not want me. And actually they hated black Christians because we are honorable people. They hated blacks who have got moral uprightness. They loved blacks who are bribable. So I was never bribable. So that is why I didn't arise and shine in the white capital sector, because there you flourish if you toe the line of white people, including their thuggery. They are thieves. Whites are thieves every day. Nobody speaks about their thieving, but they are blatant thieves. They've stolen trillions of rands out of South Africa. We were listening to SARS the other time saying SARS is owed something like 560 billion. Is it black people who've got an economy worth trillions? It's white people who owe SARS. But they were running after blacks like what's the Durban lady, Umamkhize. I said even then that's targeting. That's targeting. We grew up knowing that Indians bank money in their homes. Who runs after Indians? White people love blessing Indians is also in finances so that they twist accounts. And even white accounting firms were found to be fraudulent. But they're still operating because they are white. If it was a black person, even today we will be hearing about that. Forever shall be in white media. Whites destroy Hewletts, they destroy many companies, and nobody speaks about them. When you're speaking about Eskom, you don't speak about the truth that white contractors at Eskom intentionally, in that plan of making blacks to fail, sabotaged is Plascon. They got made to be contractors when they originally they were workers of Eskom. I saw that also in this paint manufacturing company, because when we educated blacks came in, those dummy white people in the workshops and them, they resigned and they became private companies, and then they became experienced folk that we in had to rely on initially, because we found them there. Obviously, when you found a person there, you still need to rely on them, because there's still things that they know better than you. So we had to rely on them, still call them, come and help us with electricity, come and help us with this piping, da 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 da. White people. So therefore, the sabotage at Eskom followed the same suit, because they then suddenly, when the black government came in, they suddenly became contractors. Who was sabotaging Eskom? It is white contractors. Forget those idiots of the ANC, the presidential cartels, and all those dummies. All right, at the core, even those things worked together with white contractors in order to run Eskom, and relied on those white contractors. So why didn't those whites advise them about power issues and the fact that we're going to have a problem and outages? No, it's because they wanted those outages to happen. Ramaphosa only brought white people into the energy board and sidelined Dr. Gordon Spear, a nuclear scientist, in the BEE, 1996. Why did Ramaphosa only appoint white people? Because their intention was to sabotage Eskom. So we must not speak about those things that white people consciously sabotaged black South Africans. They did, and they are still doing it. Open borders is their latest strategy. It's the same thing to do with sabotaging and make black South Africans to fail. And yes, they always have Indians next to them to help them. When did we Indians ever pass high school better than Zulus? When did Indians, let's look at Indians, when did Indians ever pass high school better than Zulus? Why are Indians senior over Zulus in KZN? Because they have got no merit to such seniority. And by the way, Zulus come from a culture of honesty. So if you want to clean books, you would have employed Zulus as in accounting. Many Zulus, now Zulus are corrupted, yes, thanks to teachings from coming from white people. So, all right. Okay, I had to greet my niece. All right. So I'm not having talking points. I'm speaking lived experiences, going to and fro. So I'm just having a conversation about the truths. White people, Zulus are corrupt today. They were not corrupt 20 years ago. And back to that company, I said, okay, I'm saying white contractors are the people who taught black people corruption, even at Eskom. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm going to make an example. There was a close friend of mine to this day who was my colleague at that paint manufacturing company, and then they admired me. They found me there, and then I was the first black person in that engineering department. So they admired me. They admired my honor, my faithfulness. So they sort of, like all these engineers who came after, emulated or made me their role model, especially on moral issues, because engineering, or rather projects, is a corrupt world. White people and Indians are very, very corrupt. So now I was not corrupt. Hence, I'm saying white people couldn't even come close to me because they realized that I'm not a Christian hypocrite. I'm a Christian, so I don't take bribes. All right. So that they clearly communicate because none of them ever came to me to seek bribes. They never came. So they clearly had conversation even with these white peers in our department because they were taking bribes. They were taking bribes. All right. So their other white company from Chamdo approached this colleague of mine. They, he was from Limpopo. Okay, they promoted him. They put him in their newsletter in their company, etc., etc. There's a project that he was going to do. So like there were contractors who had the potential, may have who amongst those, the best say three that had the potential to run with that project that my friend or colleague was running. So at the sideline, they came to him to offer bribes, and he refused. He refused. And he says to me, it is because of moral virtues that I was, which affected them because they couldn't, because they like that's how black life is. They when they find a moral person, naturally good people want to emulate that given person. So now he refused. After he refused, that white person hated him to the core. A contractor. So all these black ANC idiots who are now being exposed by white people in all these wicked deeds of theirs, they were taught this filthiness by whites. Black people don't come from a culture of bribery. It was a frowned upon. We don't come from a culture of criminality. We attacked and destroyed and beheaded criminals. Whites now treat black people as criminals. Who the hell are you? You brought a culture of criminality and you blame us for it. It came with white people. You introduced immorality in our society and blame us. It is you who were the first porn stars, showing your genitals all over the place, inducing sexual immorality. And your holy saints, sis, have some manners. You know what? Try and fear God, because you clearly don't fear God. Because then you will grow a conscience, at least. How can people who came with such levels of immorality be righteous holy saints? On what grounds? On what grounds? Not even FNB Stadium can agree to that. Oh. So they hated him after that. So later on, when I was about to exit that company, one of the black contractor, or rather black workers of a white contractor that I had given a project to, I did also give a lot of important projects also to black contractors. And then Balo World then brought laws, draconian laws, to impose their contractors over the contractors that we already had. And now, when you looked at Balo World, a globalist company, contractors, they had a lot of Zimbabweanism. That's where this Zimbabwe issue and black foreigner issue already was happening, already proves that it was already in the agenda of white capital. We had excellent local. The other company was their company address was Midlands. You know, my black people ended up having to find addresses in Sandton to get jobs. Because when their addresses are in Soweto, then they are criminals. On what basis? We gave Sowetan addressed contractors jobs there in that manufacturing, and they did excellent work, which stands to this day. But they got easily phased out by Balo World. Just like that. And they brought Zimbabweans. Who had what experience exactly? What experience did Zimbabweans had? If you looked at their country versus our country, what experience were they bringing to us? Anyway, so now that young black worker of that contractor who loved me was sent to give a senior white manager thousands an envelope, a check of thousands. It's more than 10,000 as a thank you on my project, which to this day leaves a question mark because my project was not that much that a person could be offered 15,000. So why were they paying 15,000 for a project that was maybe around 80,000 rand? I couldn't understand that. What was the value in that? So it leaves me with questions to this very day that how many accountings are we having in the private sector? Because it looked like there was this accounting for us blacks, but there's the hidden accounting for white people. I would be, who knows, maybe I'm submitting a justification document to Barlow World applying for 80,000. I don't sit in boardrooms. Maybe in boardrooms at Barlow World, the same project is 180,000. But when the money comes to me as a project, it is the 80,000 that I asked for. Somewhere, Barlow World possibly, because Barlow World would have been involved in that evil if there's no way they wouldn't have seen that. So you see, I never got, I'm not an accountant, so those are things that could have been identified by accountants. But I'm saying, what if, because I don't understand why would somebody in a project that is 80,000 be bringing a bribe to a person who's not even related to the project of something like 15,000. What for? So there's another world which was above us as black engineers, which we were not allowed to see. That should explain why white people, a white secretary is staying in gated estates. How is a secretary paying a bond of 40,000 per month? How many salaries are there? I don't know. These are mysteries. All right. So anyway, he showed me. Without saying many words, I quickly understood what he was referring to, and I said, okay. So kind of like nodding. Yeah, later, when we had the ability to talk, he said, it's been happening for very long. I said, okay. Actually, he was hurt. He was hurt because he kept on seeing himself being sent by his white employer to give bribes to whites. Yet I'm the one, the black person, doing this project, and I'm a very dignified person. I'm a very decent person. I treat people as human beings. I'm not a slave master, and I get job well done by respecting people. I can fight when there's a necessity to do so, but I don't believe in this stratagem of terrorizing people to get the most out of them. That's slavery mentalities of white masters, slave masters. That's not how I do things. And my performance appraisal was very good, more than 85% on average, without terrorizing human beings. So now they kept on receiving bribes. So this guy was showing me just this one because he was hurt that why are they not giving me? So I told him, no, I'm not. I don't receive bribes. That's why they're not sending me bribes. That's why white people are not sending me bribes, because I don't receive bribes. My blacks, okay, at our department, they never received the bribes. They confessed, honestly, because I didn't even know. So they told me, all right. So therefore, it became clear to us that all these white people are in bribery, including the MDs and them. Okay, not forgetting the fact that the draftsmen in our department, hey, white people are arrogant, jealous down. Hey, you guys are arrogant. The draftsman in our department, you know what he was? I still can't understand this. Well, he was not an arrogant person. I'm just saying, he was actually the friendliest and most open-minded white person. That one, but the arrogance of telling us black folk, because they as whites knew this, that he has a friend, or rather, who is a draftsman. So when he's taking these, you would scribble some drawing to then give to a draftsman to do a perfect drawing. So he would be as if he's the medium. He's taking these to his friend in Randburg, where he stayed, who is a draftsman. But at the same time, he's doing drafting in the office. So his friend is in Randburg. Now he works as an employed draftsman in the office. Yet, the drawings from his friend in Randburg and the drawings from himself in the office are exactly the same. What's wrong with white people? So, the MD knew that. All of them knew that. So in essence, then he was receiving 2 salaries and many drawings he did right in the workplace as an employee of that company, doing jobs in the office that are said to being done by his friend outside the company. Do you understand that? Those are things white people do. The saints. ANC blacks were taught corruption by white people and Indians. Black South African culture comes from obeying the law. And before that, it comes from Ubuntu, which by itself is very respectful to people in authority. They were taught to be criminals by whites, exactly in order to blackmail them into submission to white interests. DA whites are wicked, evil punks who belong in Nazi Germany. The most wicked white people possibly on earth. But sadly, I'm seeing in the USA, these white conservatives. Okay, we've always known this Ku Klux Klan, but then Ku Klux Klan was liberal whites. It comes from these so-called white saints, the DA types. Ku Klux Klan comes from them. But the conservatives themselves, listen, what I liked about white conservatives is that you know when they hate you or when they love you. So my culture comes from being clear. It's a yes or no. You know what okay, this one is your enemy. We don't come from a culture of pretense, the English culture. That's not our culture. That is why we preferred Bure in a way, because you knew where you stood with a Bure person, because when they love you, they love you. When they hate you, they hate you. So they don't have pretense, which is our South African culture. We don't come from culture of pretense. We come from a yes or no culture, a love or hate culture. Case closed. So white conservatives were supposed to be that kind of person, people, but they're not. Now they are just like white liberals. There's hardly any difference now. Anyway, so this whole discussion, I'm just telling part of my story, not the full story, of things that we experienced in the white private sector, and I've got a lot of other things I could tell or speak about. So the last people who can tell us about moral values are white people. White people are immoral, and they don't even fear the God of the Bible they are carrying. They don't. They're immoral. They even steal from each other, but still employ each other. But if a black person stole 100 rand, then it's a big issue. But their fellow white person stole from them hundreds of thousands. But it's not a big issue. But a black person has stolen 500 rand is a big issue. No, that's racism. So the all in all, I'm saying, white people, you are the cause of racism in South Africa. You are the cause of the animosities there are after 1994. You never even tried to reconcile with black South Africans at all. Right from the beginning, when BEE was decided, you attacked it as reverse racism. In your Bible, when you read the Bible, you can see when reconciliation happens, people return the artifacts of Israelis back to Israelis. They don't keep those things that they took from the Israelites to themselves. They give them back. You can see that whether in Ezra, as you see them organizing to go back to Israel, the the people who had conquered them, they give them back their gold and them. So what what did you even try to do in terms of reconciliation? Because you never tried reconciliation. Instead, you use those ANC idiots of yours that you bribed to make Indians black so that you could protect your interests via Indians. Indians have never passed high school better than Zulus. Why are they supervisors and seniors over Zulus and black South Africans? Why? It's supposed to be Zulus. Zulus are excellent. It's called social engineering. Thank you.